Do you know, is there any stages of shock? Yes, there are many stages of shock according to medical community. Let us see. Today our topic of discussion will be on what are the stages of shock. The definition of what shock is much different in medical community that what the general public usually think when hearing the term. Typically, people use the word to describe a surprisingly intense emotional or psychological reaction to information or an occurrence. In the medical community, the word shock referred to a physical imbalance between the oxygen needed and the oxygen actually supplied to cell in addition to lack of nutrients being delivered. This can cause cellular dysfunction, organ failure, and can eventually lead to death. There are 4 stages of shock. The first of the stages of shock is reversible, but there aren't any sign to indicate shock at this stage. Cell begins to change due to issue with perfusion and oxygenation. Perfusion is the method used by arteries to deliver blood to capillary bed in blood tissue. Without this nutritive blood and an adequate oxygen supply, the cell switch to anaerobic metabolism producing pyruvic and lactic acid. So this is a differentiation. During the compensatory stage of shock, the blood tries to reverse the result of initial stage. Psychologically or physiologically, neural, hormonal and biochemical reactions are employed to correct the imbalances. Hyperventilation is one such mechanism. This causes an increased rate of breathing, which in turn may help to get more oxygen flowing to the cells and neutralize the newly acidic condition. Next is another mechanism is a catecholaminergic response. Hypotension or low blood pressure due to the reduced volume of blood flow trigger this response. Catecholaminergic or hormone released by the adrenal gland. These hormones increase the heart rate and attempt to increase blood pressure. A third mechanism used in the compensatory stage of shock is the renin-angiotensin response. During this response, a hormone called vasopressin is released into the bloodstream. Vasopressin helps to retain fluid and trigger the vasoconstriction. Stage 3 progressive stage of shock. If the stage of shock progressed to the third stage before the initial cause is corrected, damage becomes more severe and can be irreversible. Cellular function continues to deteriorate. Anaerobic metabolism leads to increased metabolic acidosis, and the compensatory mechanism can no longer maintain the balance required to protect the organ. Stage 4 refractory stage of shock. The stages of shock will eventually lead to refractory stage. If the cause of shock cannot be fixed, at this stage the organ completely fail and lead to death. It is important to understand the stage of shock in order to recognize and prevent the progression to this final stage. This is what about the stages of shock and how it cannot be recovered. So if you have felt any changes in your body, do consult with other, and if so happen, do consult with a physician. That's all for today. Have a secure day.